Right, hello guys, and welcome to today's video. And today I'm going to be sharing my best Xbox Elite Series 2 settings for Black Ops 6, along with my best Black Ops 6 settings, not only here in Season 4, but in general. These are the settings that you're going to be needing and wanting to use in Black Ops 6, because I have perfected my craft, and I want to share it with you guys how good these settings are. So we'll of course start with the all-important Xbox Elite Series 2 settings. I do think these are really key to the settings and setup. I know I'm not sponsored by Microsoft, but to say that or anything, I just genuinely believe the Xbox Elite Series 2 is a great controller, and I have some settings that complement it very well for Black Ops 6. But if you want to skip this part, feel free. I do have timestamps down below for those of you who don't care about the Xbox Elite Series 2 or just want to see my Black Ops 6 settings. There will be a timestamp down below. But let's get into it, because we do have some brand new Xbox Elite Series 2 settings specifically for Black Ops 6. So most of you will probably see my previous videos, and this is no different here for the button mapping, okay? It's the exact same. A is A, B is B, Y is Y, X is X. You get the point, right? But a lot of you will probably be wondering, the paddles at the bottom, what am I using? Have I changed that? No, it's still the same. But for any of you who are new, I used one paddle. Now, as you can see at the bottom, it says here is B, and this is X, and this is Y, and this is A, and it has images, obviously, short paddles and long paddles. I've always said you mix around with this and basically make sure the paddles that you're on your Xbox Elite Series 2 controller are the paddles that you are comfortable with. You don't have to use all four. You don't have to use three. You don't have to use two. You don't have to use one. You don't even have to use one at all. Like you don't have to use any. But I only use one, and it's mapped here to A. And I know it shows a long paddle as the image there. I'm actually using a short paddle in this position just because it's most comfortable to me. For anyone watching and you are using an Xbox Elite Series 2 or planning on getting one, you got to mess around with this a little bit. You got to find out what's comfortable for you, because everyone's got different hand sizes, different, needs and necessities when it comes to holding control. Everyone holds the controller a little bit different to everyone else. So I recommend messing around with this, but I would always say make sure you've got something mapped to your jump button. Maybe even have something mapped to like your reload or your crouching and stuff, because those are quite important. But for me, I only have it to A, I only have it set to jump, and that is it. And I use the short paddle for that. But again, feel free to mess around with that and use as many paddles as you feel you are comfortable with. But A is mapped to the jump button, and we'll talk about that more later when I get to the Black Ops 6 settings. But moving on, left stick. Nothing crazy here. It's left on default. The sensitivity curve, default. The calculation, radial. This is just movement. It doesn't matter. It's not going to change your game if you set this to instant, smooth, aggressive. That's up to you. But I would say leave it at default. It does not make the world of difference. But what does make a world of difference is these right stick settings that I'm using. As you can see, some of you may have noticed, these have changed very slightly, but it does make a big difference with something that we do mix with a Black Ops 6 setting that not many people are using. I'll talk about that more later. But we have changed the sensitivity curve. I have said before in the past that these don't make a difference. However, using this in a mixture with a Black Ops 6 setting, again, a very specific setting, but a very underrated one, it does make a big difference. And I have noticed this through testing this. I literally used the sensitivity curve smooth, and I even adjusted this curve to find the best curve for me. Now, some of you are going to say, well, if I have it set to this, it doesn't make a big difference. It does make a slight difference. As you can see sort of where it is and where my actual, thumbstick is, and also I've got it in mixture with the calculation true diagonals, which I've always stood by and I've always used. True diagonals is the most precise setting for your thumbstick on this side, and you want it to be precise. It's your aiming. This is your aiming thumbstick. You want to make sure this is as precise as possible so you can make those quick flicks, you can make those precise adjustments without overcompensating, without undercompensating. You want to be as precise as you can with your thumbstick. It's not like a mouse, right? It's never going to be as precise as a mouse, but using true diagonals is going to make it as precise as possible. But with the smooth sensitivity curve, just gives you that little bit more, of a, how would I put it, easier time trying to aim. Like, you can snap that little bit better. It's a bit more clean. Overall, this is better. But I would say sensitivity curve, have it set to smooth, and have your curve adjustment. Either one of these three. I feel like one of these three is the better one. If it's here, it's a bit funky. But one of these three here, so either -5, -4, -3, we'll call it. I have it set to -5 is what I'll call it, but true diagonal as well. And you'll see later in the video why we are using this setting. It is unbelievable. Once you use this with that setting, trust me, you are going to love this. So thank me later, but use this. It is 100% what you want to be using on your right stick. It is a game changer. Next up, the triggers. So left trigger, right trigger. As you can see, these are set to 0 to 1. And actually, no, we'll go back to left stick and right stick, because there is something that I do have to talk about before we get to the triggers. Obviously, these do come with thumbsticks and stuff. To let you guys in the know-how, basically, my left stick is a normal default Xbox stick, with a short control freak on top. It's actually a Galaxy control freak, and my right stick is also a normal Xbox stick, but it's got a tool control freak on it. So if you want the same sort of effect, I guess, use the dome stick or the smaller stick on the Xbox that comes with the Xbox Elite Series 2. If you have a core controller, I do believe you still can get those like thumbsticks and stuff, so go out there and, you know, buy one of those thumbsticks, but you can get a short thumbstick or just use the normal Xbox thumbstick on the left thumbstick. But on the right thumbstick, I recommend a tool thumbstick, just because it gives you more leverage, allows you to be more precise with your aim. It's just overall better. And by the way, I'm not sponsored by Control Freaks. I want to say that as well before anyone thinks that. I just love their products, always have done, always will, and I fully stand by their products. But I have a right control freak, and it's actually from Black Ops 4, so that shows how long they last. Like, this has been lasting since Black Ops 4 when I first got it. But it's a tool control freak, has a larger surface area, and it's just taller and allows me more surface, you know, to like move around the thumbstick. So there's that. And then some of you will ask as well, the tensions, because you can change the tensions on your thumbsticks if you didn't know that. On your Elite Series 2, you'll have a key, a little metal key that comes with it, even with your Elite Series core as well. You take that out, you remove the thumbsticks, okay? What you do is remove the thumbsticks. If you move it all the way to the left, that's loose. If you move it all the way to the right, it's at its tightest option. So on the left thumbstick, I have it set to loose. It is at its loosest option. I have not messed around with this. But on your right thumbstick, you should set this to the maximum tension. The reason for this being, you want that little bit of resistance. The reason you want that little bit of resistance is because it stops you over compensating in gunfights. It stops you overshooting your target. That little bit of resistance allows you to be more precise. If you have it loose, it's a lot harder to be precise with. You need that little bit of resistance to be going against your controller, like going against your thumbstick whilst you're trying to push it, just so you kind of know where you're at, so you're not, again, flicking too fast, just going crazy, going nuts, because otherwise you're gonna have to run a really low sensitivity, then you're not gonna be able to turn very quickly and stuff. Basically, a little bit of resistance to your controller is massively worth it. So again, left stick, loose tension. On your right stick, maximum tension, and thank me later. But now we can move on to the triggers. So the left trigger is set to 0 to 1, the right trigger is set to 0 to 1. We'll also talk about trigger stops, because obviously the Elite Series 2 does have trigger stops, but I have it set to 0 to 1. The reason for this being, as you can see, as soon as I press these triggers, they're going. That's it. They're done. Once I press them, it is a full press. That's what that means. Having them set to 0 to 100, which they're naturally set at, it means it has to build up, has to ramp up until you get a full press. But this is a full press. As soon as I press this, I'm aiming down sight. As soon as I press this, I'm shooting the weapon. And with a semi-auto weapon, this is obviously going to be massively useful. So make sure you've got these both set to 0 to 1. As far as trigger stops go, the left one, I don't actually have the trigger stops on whatsoever. It's just like a normal press. Even though it's a normal press though, as you can see, as soon as I press it, doesn't matter. I'm not even fully pressing the trigger. I am still getting a full press. Same with the right. It's got a trigger stop on, like I have the trigger stop on to its maximum possible setting. So as soon as I press the trigger, I can't actually press it any further. But I'm getting a full press as well, just as soon as I press the trigger, regardless of my trigger stops. It's just I prefer it to on the left to be fully functional, and then on the right, I prefer the trigger to be like as soon as possible, just so I can rapidly fire it when I'm using a semi-auto weapon. Next up, vibration. Have this off. You don't want the controller vibrating around your hands. I've said this before in the past and say it again. Do not have this on. Plus, it will make your controller last longer. Having this vibrating around, going crazy, I get the whole immersive feeling of that. It's not going to help you aim, and it's going to ruin your lifespan of your controller. So definitely have these off. I wish controllers would just stop adding these in. I get it. I get why they're in there, but they don't need to be. It really doesn't help. And then finally, color. Now, I did say in the past that orange was maximum aim assist and gets you all the girls, you name it. But red is the wave, people. I'm telling you, your KD's going to go up. You're going to make so much more money. I'm joking. You can do what you like with this, right? But I've got it set to red. I don't know why. I think the red aesthetic with my blue controller, my blue Elite Series 2 controller, looks pretty nice. So you guys can change to what you want. But that concludes it for the Xbox Elite Series 2 segment of this video. Any questions, let me know in the comments down below. I will answer your questions as best I possibly can as to what settings you might want to run. Maybe you're stuck on something. Maybe you want to know whether or not to buy an Xbox Elite Series 2 controller. Let me know down below. I will answer them as best as I can. But that concludes my Xbox Elite Series 2 settings for Black Ops 6, the best settings for Black Ops 6. And we will now move on to those all-important Black Ops 6 best settings. Right, and welcome to the second segment of today's video, those all-important Black Ops 6 settings. And for those of you who skipped the Elite Series 2 controller settings, don't worry, these settings will help you too, but I do believe the Xbox Elite Series 2 controller does take advantage of these settings much better than just a bog standard Xbox controller, PlayStation controller, you name it. Maybe you might be able to do it with a PS5 Pro controller or a PlayStation Pro controller, whatever Pro controllers are out there might be able to take advantage of this. But let's get into it. Let's share those all-important Black Ops 6 controller settings here in Season 4 and just overall best Black Ops 6 settings. Anyway, let's get into it. First thing, edit button layout, you want tactical. Why do you want tactical? As you can see, the melee and the change stance, slide to dive buttons are both replaced. So my melee button is now the B button, because meleeing isn't important in Black Ops 6. It's not going to win you many gunfights. It's not very useful. We don't have commando like we used to years and years ago, so there's no point meleeing too much. But having your change to stance, slide to dive on your right stick means you can do like slide cancels and stuff whilst keeping your thumb on the thumbstick. Now, yes, with a Elite Series 2 controller, you might be able to do something with the paddles to make sure you can do it that way, but I just prefer to have it on my thumbstick. It's more comfortable for me, and I do believe this is the best way to slide cancel around the map. You know, cancel your slide, just cancel your sliding, etc., and just move around the map quicker without taking your thumb off the thumbsticks. Definitely have it set to tactical. This doesn't matter, but horizontal and vertical, right? Anywhere between 1.30 and 1.60. Anything higher than that, anything lower than that is either too slow or far too high. Yes, I know there's some crazy people out there who sit there and play on like 4, I believe it is what it gets up to now. If you can do that and you're comfortable with that and you 100% can hit your shots, then go for it. You know, the higher the sensitivity, the better. It means you can snap onto targets quicker. But if you're not being accurate, if you're lying to yourself and you're saying that you're hitting 100% of targets and you're actually not, sit between 1.30 and 1.60, but I recommend 1.40 personally. I found it to be good for me, and I do believe it works the best with the other settings that I am using today. Anyway, everything else set to off, don't really need that. This is actually quite useful on PlayStation. You might want to use that if you're on PlayStation, but on Xbox I wouldn't recommend. Controller vibration, have this off. You do not need controller vibrating in your hands. It's not helpful whatsoever. Dead zone inputs, this is going to depend on a lot on your controller, its lifespan, how long you've had it, etc. But I'd always recommend your left stick min being on 2 if you've got a relatively decent controller that's, you know, not got any stick drift. But if you don't, then set it to 5. I'd say between 2 and 5, and then this leave at 99. Right stick min, I just have this set to 5 because your right stick, regardless how good your controller is, unless you've got one of those controllers with Hall effect sticks, then you might be able to get away with this. But your right stick min, I'd set to 5 because if you set this to 2, and yes, I could probably set it to 2 right now, but over time, I'm going to get stick drift. It's going to happen through just the usage of the controller. It's going to mean I'm going to have to move this up and up and up over time, and I'm just going to have to readjust my aim every single time. So if I have it set to 5 now, I won't have to readjust for when my controller gets more and more stick drift over time. So I'd set that to 2 and I'd set that to 5. That's my recommendations for those. And then left trigger and right trigger, I have these set to 0. This is how much will need to be considered before it actually decides to recognize an input. So definitely your right trigger and left trigger set to 0 and 0. Well, I've got accessibility filter on. Anyway, let's get that off the screen. Next up, aiming. Sensitivity multiplayer. This does not matter. I've left it all at 1, but you can change it if you really want to. Look inversion doesn't matter. Aiming, advanced settings. These are quite important because, as you can see, something's changed, guys, but you guys will see in a second. But look inversion, leave that alone. ADS, sensitivity transition timing. You want this on instant. I know some people are playing gradual. I don't understand why, but instant sensitivity multiplier is applied immediately when aiming down sights. It just means it won't feel clunky, won't feel weird, transitioning out in and out of ADS. So don't just have it set to instant. This doesn't matter, but aim response curve type. This is very important. This is the secret sauce, and I'm not joking, but linear is the wave. Set your aim response curve slope scale to 0. Yes, dead on 0, nothing more. Obviously nothing less. Set it to 0 because this is your raw input. This makes it, everything you do on your controller is your input. There's no adjusting, there's no dynamic, there's no standing. It's not going to feel anything. It's your raw thumbstick. And that's why I'm saying an Xbox Elite Series 2 controller, or any pro controller really, that has specific settings to mess around with your sensitivity curves of your thumbsticks and that, can take full advantage of this. And I promise you, my aim has like massively increased. Some of you guys might know for some of my gameplays, my aim's pretty good. I can tell you what wholeheartedly, my aim is 110% better than what it was before when I did this, along with those Xbox Elite 2 settings. And I'm not joking. And you guys let me know in the comments whether or not this works for you. But I stand by this. I 110% stand by this. So definitely have it set to linear and set it to 0 and make sure you get this set correctly. But this I have set to off. Doesn't really matter. Target aim assist, obviously you want it on. You can't do it without the aim assist. As much as we all would like aim assist to be a little bit less strong, it's here. You need to use it and just do what you can. Anyway, movement, sprint assist, I have off. I know some people have this on. I don't know why. I don't think, like, sprinting in Black Ops 6 is not a good idea. Like, you get caught in a sprint, you are massively at a disadvantage. So I have the sprint assist delay set to 0 as well, so the amount of time it takes before, like, a sprint is activated. Sprint assist sideways and backwards, both off. Again, it's not very useful. It's useful for avoiding bullets, but actually trying to aim and shoot, not very useful at all, so I would not recommend. Mantle assist, have it completely off. Crouch assist, completely off. Corner slice, I have on. I don't really notice the difference, but I've never had a problem with it, and I've never had an advantage of it, so I've just decided to leave it on. Slide dive behavior I've had on hybrid. Some people might have it on slide only. I'd say either have it on slide only or hybrid. I think those are the two best options, but I go with hybrid. I've got this set to off, sprint restore off, slide maintain sprint off. This, I mean, doesn't really matter. Movement advanced settings, nothing crazy here other than you would want, well, yeah, you know, you want the grounded mantle one, sorry. And then tactical sprint activation, single tap sprint or single tap run. This is kind of one of those you have to decide between the two, sorry. But double tap, I would not use double tap, okay? If you're using double tap, what are you doing? You're ruining your controller. Single tap to sprint or single tap to run. I went with single tap to sprint because, again, if you're caught in attack sprint, it's detrimental in Black Ops 6. Like, you will get done over, you will get caught out, you won't be able to really cover in that gunfight unless you hit some crazy slide cancel or something. But definitely change that. And then combat, nothing crazy here again. This would be quite important, actually. Weapon mount activation, I change it to ADS plus melee. I wouldn't have it to off. Like, there are some times where you might want to use it, but to be honest, you could possibly have it off. I've got it on ADS plus melee, so I'm not accidentally doing it, but I rarely do this. It's not very useful in Black Ops 6 whatsoever. Rest of this doesn't really matter at all. Combat advanced settings, again, nothing crazy in here that's really going to change your game, so don't really do anything with that. Next up, though, we'll move up to something that does make a big difference, your graphics settings. And a lot of this is going to depend on monitors, your Xbox, what you're using, PlayStation, you name it. But we'll start with the big one, which does depend on your monitor, depends on your Xbox, your PlayStation. If you can run 120 Hz refresh rate, you need to be doing so. Why? Because this is 120 FPS. This is the best frames you can get on a console, and you want a monitor that supports this. You want an Xbox that can do this, a PlayStation that can do this. If you're playing on 60 FPS, you are at a disadvantage. I will say that now. It is a night and day difference. You might want to think about upgrading to trying to get 120 FPS. I know it's not the easiest thing in the world for everyone to go and get 120 FPS and have a monitor and an Xbox or a PlayStation that can do that, but it is important nonetheless. If you're on PC, you're probably living good and you probably got 120 FPS, maybe more frames, but 120 FPS refresh rate if you can. If you haven't, try and get 120 FPS, this ability to have the 120 Hz refresh rate. It's very useful and will allow you to compete with people, basically. Like, it's much, much better. It's more responsive, just better in every way. This, again, depends on your monitor, depends on your brightness settings and stuff. Just make sure you've got it set to where 1 is not visible, 2 is barely visible, and 3 is easily visible. That does actually help that chart. It's not there just for the sake of it. I have this set to low consumption. Why? So my Xbox doesn't sound like it's taking off like a jet engine. You guys will understand this. If you have Xboxes and PlayStation, sometimes it sounds like it's taking off. But don't worry, this does not affect gameplay. I have been using this all year. I've had no gameplay issues whatsoever. I don't get less frames. I don't get less power. You don't get less aim, etc. Like, it is there just to make sure your Xbox doesn't sound like it's going to take off. Next up, though, world motion blur, have it off. As you can see, the image goes blurry. Why would you want that? Well, weapon motion blur, again, you don't want your weapon to be blurry. Like, look at the two images. You want these both off. Depth of field, again, have this off. You don't want the things around you to be blurry whilst you're aiming because you want to see if there's an enemy to your left, to your right. Have this off. Fidelity cast, have this on, but do not set this to 100. I know a lot of people do. Yes, it does make the game visually better, but fun fact, if you didn't know, the higher you have this, the less, the more input delay you get. That's what it is. The less of this you have, the less input delay. There is a big thing. That is a truth. There is a video that literally proves this. I'm not talking out my ass, I promise. But fidelity cast, I have it set between either 60 or 80. I've went with 60. I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, fidelity cast strength, though, I have it set to 60. I feel like that's the best middle ground of getting a good quality picture and having as least amount input delay as possible. You will feel the difference. If you've got this on 100 you set to 60 now, you will feel that less input delay. Like, there is less input delay using this. Also, on-demand texture streaming, again, the worst setting in the world. Why can't we just download the textures we want or choose not to? I don't know, but set it to minimal, set it to auto, and set it to 1 so it doesn't go over, like, sit there downloading graphics all day long. It's ridiculous. I don't know why this setting exists. I have this both off, doesn't really matter. Field of view, this is important. This does affect how your aim feels, so make sure you're getting this setting right too. Field of view, I have it set to 100. I'd say anywhere between 95 and 105, but I have personally just come down from 103. I used to play on 103. I've set it to 100 along with the settings that I'm using. I'd say 95 to 100 is probably the better spot, but I would still say you can play 105. Anything more than 105 on a console, you're going to be having like no aim assist, so I wouldn't do it. If you're on PC, of course, you could play 120 field of view, probably no problem at all. But if you're on console, 95 to 105 is the field of view you want to use. Use it with affected and then wide weapon field of view. The reason for this being, it does make the weapon look smaller, but it also has less visual recoil. Now, it doesn't reduce recoil. I'm not saying that. It has less visual recoil, which means you can see your target more. You're not having the weapon like bounce around your screen as crazily. It gives you less visual recoil, so definitely has set to wide. This doesn't really matter. This does, though. I have this set to 50%. It's the least you can do. It's unfortunately, you can't go lower than that, but it will reduce the camera movements for like grenades and stuff, so it won't affect your screen as much. Finally, audio. Nothing too crazy here. I'm not going to lie. I'm not someone who doesn't really sound whore in this game, but these are the settings that I'm using. Feel free to copy them, but these aren't really sound whoring settings, I'd say. But I've got 0, 30, and 100. Again, I don't really sound whore in this game. I don't think it's actually that useful or much of a need. You can reduce tinnitus sound if you want that as well. Voice chat, of course you want this on, because with all these settings you're going to be using, you're going to be making a lot of people rage, so you want to hear that. Interface, again, server latency, packet loss on. You want these both on so that you can see whether or not you're lagging in a game and whether or not it's just worth quitting, especially in Black Ops 6, because let's be honest, the servers are pretty bad, so most of the time you might experience packet loss, you might experience a server that's on 100 ping, etc., and you probably want to leave. So yeah, have these on, especially in Black Ops 6. Again, this stuff isn't too crazy, but color customization, okay? As you can see, you can change the colors. It's whatever you want it to be. But I would say this is the most important thing. This will make your game look more vibrant, more colorful, and I highly recommend it. So color filter 2, color filter target both, and the world color intensity and interface color intensity, both on 100. This will make your game look visually better. You'll be able to spot people better. It's just overall a better looking color filter and will make the game look much, much better for yourself. But I believe that is going to be it. Oh, gameplay HUD, of course, you can change your crosshair and do whatever you want to do with that. I've got it set to green. I know probably most people wouldn't set it to green because, as you can see, things like grass that exist in this game, so I shouldn't be able to see it, but works well for me. I've seen people go with blue as well. It can be pretty good. Change that to whatever you think is more visually appealing to you, but everything else here, it doesn't really matter. And that is pretty much it. That is every single setting that you're going to need here in Black Ops 6. Any questions, let me know down below, and I will answer them as best I possibly can from either the Xbox Elite Series controller settings for Black Ops 6 or my Black Ops 6 settings in general. These are the best Black Ops 6 things. I don't think I'll be making another settings video here for Black Ops 6, but because of these settings, like these settings are the absolute best, and I stand by that. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I hope you guys take full advantage of these settings and enjoy these settings just as much as I am here in Black Ops 6. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe, notification on. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Goodbye.